Signal. It's always funny. Wait patiently. Okay, you're good to go. All right, welcome everybody who's coming on here live and who's coming in Zoom. I may be letting some more people in on Zoom. I know there's a friend of mine, I didn't know she had signed up, a person that I met quite a few years ago from Wisconsin has just been texting me back and forth a little while. Um, my clients know that they can always text me, even if it's been years since we've done anything together. And so I'm hoping she comes in on Zoom here too, because I know she's going to want to ask some questions tonight. So if you're catching this on Facebook and you want to come, just go down a couple posts and you'll see a link where you can come on in and come into my Zoom room because we're going to do about a half hour here for this challenge on day 2. And at the end, then I will close out Facebook Live and we'll be live for anybody who comes on Zoom. So welcome to this day 2. Yesterday, just a little recap, we talked about the 3 steps of pressure free. So targets, triggers, tools. And part of the challenge was to come up with a few targets, like what are some things you want to see happen during these summer months? Or what is happening to you that you just don't want to have happen anymore? So what is it you want to change up? What are you aiming for? Those are your targets in pressure free. And then the second thing we talked about was the A emotions that can very easily trigger our stress response. So feeling angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, ashamed or argumentative. So if you have any of those feelings roiling up in you, it's like it's putting you right on the edge of a cliff, and it's so easy to trigger what's called the fight or flight stress response. I talked a little bit about that fight or flight stress response last night, and I said it was more apps than just fight or flight. So it's fight, flight, freeze, fib. I talked about flattering. And then there's one more too that I didn't talk about last night that I want to talk about tonight, and that's fidget. So if you have and I talked about it a little bit, but I want to go a little deeper on it. Like if you have a habit of like flipping a pen around in your hands or clicking the pen in the meeting, or you need a fidget tool. I see a lot of people with fidget tools. I work with a lot of business coaches, and some of them actually give their clients fidget tools to use during sessions. And I've been reflecting about that a lot lately. And here's what I've come to understand it. And the first time I really got it was when I was coaching a college student and who had a pen. He always had to have a pen in his hand and he always had to be working it. And he told me that when he came on, he said it's something that he wished he didn't do because he noticed like he'd be in a job interview, grab a pen, and he's like flipping around. It's very distracting. Just like, how do I stop doing that? And so I want to talk about that for a moment because I think it's important. If we're coming to do some sort of fidgeting, whether it's biting our nails, picking our cuticles, um, playing with pens, clicking the pens, biting the pens, anything like that, I view that as a clue that something's going on in here. So it's not bad, but it is something to reflect upon because you don't want to go into a big meeting or an interview and be chewing on your pen or clicking your pen or whatever your habit is. So a very quick tool, I'm going to go straight to a tool first here to help with any of those things, is to calm your nervous system. And I learned this from my body coach, Leela Veronica, that our nervous system has a directionality to it. So the directionality is down the tops of our arms and legs and up underneath. So if you just take your hands and rub either down your arm or down your thighs a few times, it's an instant soother. Sometimes I'll see people take their hands and go back and forth on their thighs when they're nervous. And what's happening is they're like soothing and then activating, soothing, then activating. If you think about a dog or a cat, their fur has a directionality to it. And if you pet them the wrong way and they don't know you, they usually bristle. They don't really like that. If they know you, they might let you do that. But they want their fur petted in the same direction that it is grown. And we're the same way. So if you could see a lot of fur on us, it would have a direction to it. So if you have hair on your arms, you can see that it's down and out. It's got a little bit of a curviness to it. So anyway, you can play with that idea. And if you do start to fidget in any way, just ask yourself, okay, what was I just thinking about? Like take a moment to reflect and see if there's something working on you. I can speak from experience because as a child, my legs were always jiggling. Like my leg jiggled a lot. I was obviously triggered on adrenaline, and I just wanted to move, and so I took a lot of it out just by jiggling my leg. So maybe there's someone that you know that their legs are always jiggling. I'll still catch myself sometime and like, oh, I see that, and just ask yourself. Maybe something isn't working on you, but maybe you need to go a little deeper. And it's like, oh, yeah, I was thinking about how we have to get to that wedding on time. And that's why I'm sitting in the car. I'm just a little bit jittery right now. So it's just a clue, and it can be really helpful. So we talked about fight or flight last night. That is my expertise. I've just really gone into as thorough as an understanding, and it's continually growing because I read research a lot about the stress response and about all the things that happen to us as a result of triggering the stress hormones, the two different floods that go out. Tonight, what I want to focus on is first with your targets, make sure that you list those targets and write them every day. Like, what is it that you really want? If you wrote them down yesterday, take another journal page or a sheet of paper. It really doesn't matter where you do it. I'm really great at back of envelope things. Whatever it is, just take your pen and write down those same things again. Or if you look at it and you say, actually, I want to change it up, go ahead. But whatever is top of mind, I want you to continue writing what those targets are every single day. So we're going to do these 5 days of it, and then hopefully it'll start creating a pattern for you. And now tonight, I want to add something as a bit of the challenge. I want you to look at your targets and what's one or two actions that you could take in the next 24 hours that's going to create some sort of momentum toward making that target a reality. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm launching my second book this summer. It's called The Pressure Free CEO. And so the action step that I want to take in the next 24 hours is to put together my action steps for launching it on Amazon. So I've launched a book on there before, but it's been 4 years, 5 years. So I got to go back and take a look at my notes and organize that. So that's what I'm promising to myself and to all of you that I am going to do in the next 24 hours is take that step of getting that organization started. So what action could you take? Maybe you want to go on a trip this summer, and so your action is to find a place to stay. I'm hosting a big reunion with my aunt and uncle in New Hampshire, and so that's another action. My next action step there is to create the invitation. Got all the details worked out today, so tomorrow I want to put together the invitation. So that's just an example of just a very small, 10-minute thing or however long it's going to take you. Doesn't have to be long or big, but it's creating more momentum towards your target. Does that make sense? So get a little bit of action going there. And each night here, I'm going to take you deeper on what to do with your targets. Now let's move to more about the stress hormones and your triggers. So I want to talk about the brain tonight and your senses, because when we trigger that first flood of hormones, the catecholamines, so adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine, when those go out into the bloodstream, they're going to wake fat and glucose from our extremities, so the cells in our hands, feet, legs, and our brain. There's going to be a dump of glucose and fat out of these cells. And that's because we want a ton of energy to fight or run away. But when we do that, we affect so much here. So let's talk about the cortex first. So the outer part of our brain here is responsible for so much of how we view the world and how we act and what we're capable of doing and capable of thinking about. When we're fighting or fleeing, we don't want to be in a cognitive functioning state. We want to be in a more reactive state. We want to be able to see where the attack is coming from and just react immediately without taking time to think about it or come up with ideas. We don't have time for that. We just need to save ourselves from the attack. but we're not under attack, so we don't need to actually shut this down. Couple of things, two areas, and actually there's a little third area too, but two main areas in the brain are responsible for willpower. So when we trigger the stress response in this first flood of hormones, you may feel after a while, you may just feel like you have just no willpower to do anything. Like, oh, I should go work out. Oh, I just don't want to. So what do? You grab the TV remote and you just keep clicking till you find something decent. And then you keep clicking. Like it's just, we're just trying to find comfort, like I talked about last night. Um, but it's actually because we literally lack motivation and willpower and also executive functioning. So the executive function area of our brain is somewhat shut down. You might feel very unfocused or unable to make decisions. Like you're just in a muddle, if you will. Um, so that's all of this. And then back here, your hippocampus, which is where we store and retrieve memory. That's a very simple oversimplification of it, but that is also somewhat shut down. That's why it's hard for us to recall things. If you've ever had test anxiety, I've worked with so many people that have test anxiety. It's usually the number one reason that people don't get the grades in school that reflect what they actually know, is that they just get anxious before the test, and now that area of the brain shut down and they can't recall. So it's like, oh, I know this, but you just can't put it down on the paper. It's very frustrating, actually. It's very frustrating for people who have that happen. Um, I remember triggering once when I was giving a speech, and it's like my whole speech. I don't use notes or slides. Sometimes I use slides, but I don't use the slides as notes. It's all in here. I've been doing this for 15 years. Like I can expand and create anything. And but boy, oh boy, I triggered the stress response once, and all of a sudden I went like blank. It just went blank. Um, and so that's what was really going on there. When this happens, if you take a look at what might be triggering you and causing you to trigger the stress response in these situations, and then if you really are, how should I put this? Um, Not in denial, but really assessing yourself, you may notice that you move into some behaviors, or you've had some behaviors in the past that really have not served your purpose or how you really feel you want to be in the world, like your way of being, if you will. Um, and so that's the next part of the challenge for tonight is what unhelpful ways do you notice? Ways of being. So do you notice yourself being sloppy or being curt, being impatient? Um, do you notice yourself blaming other people or super blaming yourself for situations? I've heard people say, "Oh, wow, it's my kid's fault that I never got my degree finished," or, it's her fault that I just never got back to my golf game, or, what is going on, right? We're finger pointing. It's really easy to finger point when we've triggered fight or flight. It's really easy to be impatient when we've triggered fight or flight. Um, what do you beat yourself up about? So a lot of people come to me with some perfectionist tendencies, which then can maybe lead to procrastination tendencies. Um, and they'll really beat themselves up. I had a client call me once, and it's an entrepreneur, and they were just really upset with themselves that they hadn't gotten done as much as they wanted to that day. And one of my slogans, my tools, when you get to the end of your day and you haven't completed everything that you want, I'll say this. This is my slogan. Tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow is a new day. And you'll hear a lot of phrases like money loves speed. Like there are a lot of things that want speed involved, but can we have speed without triggering the stress response? That is key. So if you start worrying and triggering the stress response, that's going to interfere with what you're really on point to do. So what do you beat yourself up about? What worries go on in there or shames? Um, so what causes you to binge? And maybe you need to remove some of the things um, in order to not turn to them. Like some people turn off certain apps on their phone, get rid of certain apps on their phone. A lot of my clients who don't want to be so addicted to the phone will like have social media only on their computer and not on their phone. So they're not tapping apps. Call that tapping apps or scrolling and tapping apps, two things that you might want to do less of. So when you can start to define, really define ways of being that you want to be, um, that can start to clarify a direction for you. So sometimes people come to me and they say, but this is just the way I am. I'm a type A high achiever. My father was like this, or my mother was like this. It's genetic. Like this is just a genetic tendency. I had one fellow say once, I'm an Italian Jew, and this is just how I am. And I didn't say anything when we were first working. I let people explore it and figure it out for themselves. But over time, the impatience and the anger that they were exhibiting started to totally lessen. Like it really wasn't who they were. They were under the impression that they were, but that's not who they really were. So I like to think of, and I think of myself this way, like pre-pressure free, that was my stressed out self, like most of the time. But post-pressure free, it's a very different person, a very different person. So, what are some tendencies that you have that you're like, wow, I just wish that I didn't exhibit that? I wish I could be more patient. I wish I could be more in control of my emotions. I wish I could be more professional, or like, what are those things? I have some volleyball coaches on tonight. I have to share this. I was coaching a high school volleyball team, and I was moving their body into a frame, which is something I'm going to teach in a couple days, a particular frame in order to tell the brain that there's no reason to go into fight or flight. And as I was putting them in the frame, I asked them, I go, so how do you feel now that you're sitting like that? And I wish I had taken a before and after picture because I had all of these girls just sitting so beautifully. And one of them raises her hand. She goes, I feel so professional. And I looked at her and I go, I would hire you. I would hire all of you right now because they looked so calm and yet alert and strong and capable. And so sometimes we hold our body with slouched shoulders and dropped head, and it's just not very confident looking. And so by helping them like rearrange their body, it was just really cool. But that idea of, do you want to, people have asked me, like when I've worked with business coaches, like, well, do you want to be an amateur at this or do you want to be a professional? Same thing with being a violinist. Like it's like I knew from the age 10, I wanted to be a professional violinist. I was going all the way. So it's like what ways of being or what things do you want? Get really clear about that tonight. That's part of your challenge. Um, and dream big. Like if there's things that you feel like, but that's impossible. It's impossible for me to be like that. Um, I encourage you to just open it up because who knows what might actually happen for you. Watch how when you do trigger the stress response, just observe yourself and see if you tend to go this way, like get aggressive or bossy, snippy, that word for snippy, I won't say it, finger pointy, blamey, or do you just kind of go the other way and you just want to binge? You want things to come to you. Do you feel burned out? I've had people tell me, Elle, I feel like my brain is broken. Like this is not working right. I can't focus on work and I can't get things done and I just want to go to sleep. So it's like, what's happening? What do you notice? Everyone is different. Some people never move into an aggressive behavior, and other people, that is their go-to. Um, it's coming up for me to share this too. You will hear a lot of times, especially with women leaders, they'll say, I'm not being aggressive, I'm being assertive. And I've really reflected on that deeply and observed people and worked with C-level clients and CEOs and leaders, female coaches, and all kinds of different people in different métiers. And what I've noticed is that if we trigger the stress response, then there's something in the edge of our voice and there's something in our body language that is actually aggressive. But if we don't trigger the stress response, when we don't trigger that stress response, we're not aggressive. We truly are assertive. And no one either wants to push back at it or is repelled by it. So a question you can ask is my communication landing? And is the communication landing because I'm not forcing it, but I'm truly empowered to land it? So that's a lot of when I'm working with people in those roles, it's really fun to work with it. And that brings me to a few more things coming on up here. Eyesight and hearing changes. Our sensory abilities change in fight or flight. We're going to get a broad peripheral vision so we can see where that attack is coming from. But some people will actually see that it's hard to take a look. It's hard to see things focused. I've got my music stand behind here, and if I would trigger the stress response, the notes will be blurry for a moment. I can't even see the notes for a little bit. Um, my violin teacher say, I think you have a photographic memory. He says, I could really I always knew what the tops of the next pages looked like. It's really funny. So, so I think I do have a little bit of that, but still, it's like it was very unsettling when my vision wasn't clear. I know sometimes people have trouble driving sometimes, and we'll talk about their vision. Um, and I always am like, okay, so did you notice that? Did you trigger the stress response for some reason? Is that the reason why you can't see quite as well? And then hearing changes too. Have you ever told somebody to do something or asked someone to do something and later they just they've totally forgotten and they don't do the thing? Chances are they were under the influence of the stress hormones and they actually didn't lodge the memory of what you told them. They didn't hear it. And it's fascinating that our senses change so much that we can't lodge memory. That's actually a protection for us. If we were truly under attack, and you'll hear this if you ever talk to people in who are in the police force, the fire department, they will tell you you got to wait 24 hours to even talk about what just happened to you if you've had a violent crime happen to you because you won't even remember it clearly, and you probably won't remember it clearly then either. We're being protected from how horrible something might be happening to us, which I think is truly fascinating. Actually, I have a missing memory, so I'm so curious about it, right? I know a lot of people who have these missing memories and things I know something happened, but I don't know what it was. I don't, all I know was bad, right? But I don't really know what actually happened. Um, so take a look at that snippy, bossy, blamey, binging, and burnout. Assess that for yourself and really ask yourself. And before I go into a tool, I want to go to burnout for a moment and fatigue, because a lot of us, we get done our work days and we're so fatigued we can't even play with our family and pets or whomever you live with, whatever you live with, or anything in your neighborhood or your community. We're too tired to go out. We're tired to have fun. We're exhausted. And most of us have not been doing something physical. So why are we so exhausted? We're exhausted because of the stress response. And when you interrupt the stress response and go day after day after day, your energy is going to uplift. You're going to have so much more staying power. You probably won't need a nap at all. If I have clients who need naps, I know it's a stress response issue. It's like the human being should be able to just do a great day and have a great night and then fall beautifully asleep and wake up the next day and do the same thing. So that's a clue for me, that the hormone releases are affecting them. Um, I want to share this story because I think it's so profound. My mother-in-law had gone through something. She was in her 90s at the time. And so I drove about over 2 hours to go to her, just to go check on her. And to cheer her up, I brought lobsters. I'm from New England. I brought lobsters and and a little salad and things. I was going to make her a meal, right? And I brought a chick flick. Okay. So I arrive at her house and she was completely exhausted, and headed to her bedroom for a nap. But she saw, I came in and she goes, "Oh, no, no, no." And she goes, "No, oh, what are those?" I go, "Oh, I brought some lobsters." She goes, "Oh my." She perks up, right? So we go into the kitchen, and normally her kitchen is pretty clean, right? But it wasn't. She was just really kind of in a bad state. So I helped her clean her kitchen. And we're talking, and then we sit on the couch and we talk about the situation, and I hold her, and there's just so much love. And then I go, oh, well, look, it's like 6 o'clock, and I make the dinner, and then we watch the movie. We stayed up till 1 a.m. and then she went to sleep. She never took the 3 p.m. nap, right? So it's like she was exhausted mentally, but by changing things up, changing the state, she actually went until 1 a.m. So if you start to feel that fatigue, just settle yourself for a moment and just ask yourself to open up and see if you can repower yourself. One of my colleagues says, we think we have to recharge our battery, but that's not true. We just have to open up to energy to fill us, and we have more energy. I've done it so many times working late into the night with clients, um, and at retreat, like just going as long as people want me to at retreats. So play with that idea of having more energy. Okay, let's give you a tool tonight. So last night I did the swim tool. You can go back and watch that video if you want. Tonight I want to give you it's an early tool I built way back in 2010. It's one of my favorites, and it's a favorite of many clients. It's called the Celebration Ferris Wheel. I built this tool because most of us are inside the hamster wheel and we're exhausted. We're running in a wheel with our weight, right? So it's pretty exhausting. So I want you to get out of the hamster wheel, come around behind it, turn that wheel into a pretty little Ferris wheel, colors, music, whatever you want to do, and just give it a push. Okay, so when you do that, hopefully you smile and you're releasing those neuropeptides. So again, it's a gross motor motion, which is instantly going to open up new neural pathways for you to change up a habit fast. You're smiling, so you're keeping neuropeptides going, so your whole cortex and hippocampus can still work for you. You're going to have willpower. You're going to be able to think. You're going to be able to make decisions. You're not going to go into fidget mode. And then when you've got that going on, there's another piece to it, and that's posture. So if you lift your hands up and leave them up, and now bring them down to your sides like this, but don't move your ribs. Just the act of pushing up like this, we lift our ribs up away from our hips. And so it's like we're getting up and over our problem so we can look at it and solve it. Okay. Touch about my mother-in-law. My father-in-law was an engineer. I remember we having this beautiful talk about needing to be one, if even two technologies above to solve an engineering issue. Same thing with us. Like we need to get up above to be able to see what's really going on, to gain perspective. And so there's something about this motion and getting our ribs up so you can have that space to be able to analyze and assess. Celebration Ferris wheel, I want you to celebrate, even if you notice that your face still turns red and you're jittery and you trigger the stress response. I still want you to celebrate because you noticed a particular trigger. You can put it on your list. Oh, that's something that causes me to trigger the stress response. So you're just sleuthing. You're just trying to figure out what is it that keeps causing you to trigger these hormones. So celebration Ferris wheel is a great interrupter, and and people like to do funny things. My clients like to do funny things with the Ferris wheel. One girl asked if she could put her stepmother on the Ferris wheel and give her a ride. I said, that's fine, but remember she's going to come back around and she's going to get off, and so you will need to interact. So while she's on the Ferris wheel, you can put your plan together. So that's what I did with her. Another, she was never my private client, but she hired me twice to work with the area agency on aging. She's the Ferris wheel, and she puts her work projects that are giving her a tough time, and she sends them for a spin, and then she takes them off when she's ready for them. Another one of my clients is always putting various things on that Ferris wheel and just letting them have a ride. So she's got a breather in order to deal with the thing that's going down. So you can do a multitude of things with your Ferris wheel. But when I think about my Ferris wheel, to me, it represents my energy. And I just want my energy spinning beautifully. So I don't put anything on mine. I just push it and imagine it just beautifully spinning. So it's like I'm giving myself energy every time I interrupt that stress response. So let's just review real quick your targets. You're going to put 2 action steps to each of the targets that you've listed for the summer here. Noticing, again, just keep noticing what triggers are showing up and asking yourself, how do I want to be? How do I want to be? What qualities do I want to start to exhibit that maybe I just haven't? And notice that bossiness, that snippiness, blaming, binging, broken, burnt out, those B words. And then start pushing your Ferris wheel and have some fun with it. All right, I'm going to close out this Facebook tomorrow. We're going to do another whole special tool for you and go deeper on the targets and talk about some things that again put you right on the edge of the cliff, easy to trigger the stress response. So I will see you tomorrow. And by the way, if you're liking this and you want to have a private conversation with me, you can just go to my website, elleingalls.com or pressure-free.com. You'll see a nice little raspberry colored button. It's not really red, it's not really pink, it's a raspberry. Just go ahead and click that and you'll go right to my calendar. And I would love to have a conversation with you. Your first conversation with me is completely complimentary and will be very pressure-free. So I wish you a great evening and I'll see you tomorrow. Let's see.